Good morning, children. Good morning, children. How are you all? I hope that you are fine. So today let us study socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. You know that you know very well about what are the circumstances that lead to Russian Revolution. Here we are going to discuss that in the previous class we discussed about April thesis. Who put forward this April thesis? This April thesis that was put forward by Vladimir Lenin. Vladimir Lenin put forward this theory and he put forward the three demands. These three demands we came to be called as Lenin's April thesis. Then the Revolution of October that was happened in 1917 and Lenin he feared that the provincial government may set up a dictatorship. Who formed this provisional government? The provisional government that was formed by that provisional government that was formed by Menshevik leader Kerensky. Menshevik leader Kerensky formed this provisional government. That time Lenin exiled from his country and Kerensky took power and he undertook the power and he formed the provisional government. Then Lenin got a fear. What fear he got? Lenin got fear that provisional government may set up dictatorship. The provisional government that may set up a dictatorship. That was the fear of Lenin. Lenin think that this totally will change. They may go to dictatorship. So what Lenin did? Lenin understood that it is the time to come forward by the Bolshevik and their idea of socialism. So the Bolshevik leader was Lenin, and he, with the help of Lenin, with the help of Petrograd Soviet Bolshevik party, they together this with the help of Petrograd Soviet and Bolshevik party combined together and they fight against this Kerensky's provisional government. Due to their effort, they capture power. Who captured power? Lenin captured power under the leadership of Bolshevik party because Bolshevik leader was Lenin. Vladimir Lenin was the Bolshevik leader. He captured power and formed Soviet and he formed the Soviet. In Russia, he formed the Soviet. Who formed the Soviet? Lenin formed the Soviet in Russia. Then next Kerensky understood the situation. Kerensky understood that Lenin will capture power. So he understood the situation and what he did, he left the city. Who left the city? Kerensky under Menshevik party. The Kerensky they left the party and Bolshevik party took power. They captured power. They seized power. They captured power. Who captured power? Bolshevik party captured power. Then the continuous fight is going on because Moscow, that was the main city in Russia, that Moscow, there will be heavy fighting that occurred in Moscow as well as Petrograd. Moscow as well as Petrograd, heavy fighting that will occur. In that time, the Moscow they resisted the power of Bolshevik leader Lenin. They resisted, so that there will be a heavy fighting that occur in Moscow. On December, Moscow and Petrograd were under the control of Bolshevik. Petrograd as well as Moscow, they resisted against this Bolshevik party under the leadership of Lenin. So that last December, during that time, Moscow and Petrograd that was under the control of Bolshevik party. Later on, when December during that time, this Moscow as well as Petrograd were under the control of the Bolshevik party. Actually, this Petrograd's early name was St. Petersburg. You know it very well. St. Petersburg, that was the German name. These Russian people, they hate the Germans and they renamed the name. They changed the name changed the name of St. Petersburg. They changed the name St. Petersburg and they put the new name that is Petrograd. That is nothing but the Petrograd. Petrograd as well as this Moscow. Petrograd as well as this Moscow. Now that these places were, these cities were under the control of the Bolshevik party. Which month? December. December month, this Moscow and Petrograd that were under the control of this Bolshevik party under Lenin. You know that Lenin told different things about these people, and he wanted to fulfill his desire and his aspirations. He said the thesis, April thesis, that came to be known as April thesis also. Three demand he put forward that he want to fulfill that demand. Which are the demands he want to fulfill? We are going to discuss. First, Lenin, he said that he wanted to nationalize the bank. When he came to power, when Lenin took power, when he formed the Soviet, he decided to nationalize the bank. He does not allow any banks to loot the people, so that he nationalized the bank. All the banks will be in one, that all the banks that is nationalized by Vladimir Lenin. So next the government, the Soviet or the government, the Bolshevik party or the government, they decided the land declared as social property. The land in earlier time, you know that the private property that belongs to an individual. But here the problem is that the private individual always will, definitely the private individual, what will do? They will exploit the landless peasants and poor farmers. So that in these circumstances, Lenin understood that this was a tough situation or difficult situation. What he did is that he said that land that will be declared as social property, land become social property. Land declared as social property. He declared land as the social property. Land belongs to not for one individual or private property. Land will become a social property, so that the individuals they can't exploit or loot the peasants as well as the farmers. So next, what this government did? They partitioned large houses. Large houses are the big houses that will be constructed. Large houses that will be constructed. That will be partitioned on the basis of according to the family requirements. They partitioned the large houses according to the family requirements. As the family, they have a lot of requirements. As per that, it will be partitioned. The areas will be partitioned and the houses will be partitioned for several purposes. That was done by this government. Next, they banned use of old titles of aristocracy. You know that the aristocratic people, always they will took several names. They adopted many titles. They want different titles that will be adorned them. But here what happened is that he banned or the government banned the use of old titles. Some aristocratic peoples or the nobles, they may adopt many titles. That old titles, he banned the titles. Sometimes their title may be to show their fame. In order to show their fame, they may adopt many titles. But these titles banned by Lenin. Lenin banned the use of old titles of aristocracy, or we can say these nobles. Aristocratic people means nobles, or the royal blood peoples that we can call as aristocracy. So next, he introduced a new uniform for the army. Or this government, when the Soviet come to power, or this under the leadership of Bolshevik, they decided to introduced new uniforms. They introduced new uniforms for the army. They introduced a new uniform for the army, especially. You know that Budnovka, that was cap. Budnovka that was introduced. You look this Budnovka. You can see that the cap is that totally covered their head, totally covered. Even the ear also covering. You can see that ear also covered this kind. So this is a particular kind of cap that will be. That totally will cover even the ears also. That's a particular type of cap that is called Budnovka. That was the cap that was also introduced for the army. It means that the uniform totally changed. He introduced a new uniform for the army, namely the cap. What is the name of that cap? Budnovka. You can see this. Budnovka was introduced in Russia, so that the uniform also changed. That uniform also changed in the army. Where in the army? Next, Bolshevik party renamed. Then this Bolshevik party, that name of that is Bolshevik party, that was renamed. They renamed Bolshevik party renamed as Russian Communist Party. The Bolshevik party that was renamed, the name changed, and it as Communist Party, that become Communist Party. Once again, Bolshevik party that was renamed as Russian Communist Party. Afterwards, this Bolshevik party came to be known as the Russian Communist Party. In 1970, election conducted. This Bolshevik party, they decided to conduct election in the year 1917 in Russia. They want to conduct election in the year 1917. Election conducted but failed. But what happened? They failed in the election. Who failed? The Bolshevik party. They failed in the election. They lost. They lose the seats. They lose the seats. Or we can say that in 1917 election, when conducted the election that time, who lost? This Bolshevik party lost and they failed. But they failed. They did not get the majority. They win some seat, but they won they didn't get the majority seat, so that they failed. In 1980, next year, in the 1980, Bolshevik made peace with Germany. Actually, Germans were enemies of Russia, but in 1980, Bolshevik they made peace with Germany. Some people they were very much angry towards this policy. Which policy? To make peace with Germany. Some people they disliked. Anyhow, Bolshevik party in 1980, what they did is that they made peace with Germany. They made peace with Germany. In 1918, which year? In 1918, they made a peace with Germany. In the years that followed, Bolshevik became the only party to participate in the elections. Later on, what happened is the all other parties they did not stand still. Later on, the only party that was the Bolshevik party. Bolshevik party is the only party that remained, and the only party in Russia that was the Bolshevik party that was remained in Russia in the years that followed. Even the years that followed, there will be one party that was the Bolshevik party. Other parties they did not stand later on. Next, Russia became a one-party state. Now Russia became a one-party state. So that the powers now will hold by which party? If election will conduct, there is no problem. Other parties are not there. So that Bolshevik become the unanimous, or we can say that the Bolshevik party become one-party system in Russia now. So that they appointed secret police. Who appointed secret police? The Bolsheviks, the Bolshevik party and the Bolsheviks. They appointed many secret police. You know that Germany, this Gestapo was formed by Adolf Hitler. Like this, they also formed many secret police in Russia. Which are the secret police? Cheka, OGPU, NKVD, OGPU, NKPD and Cheka are the secret police that was established in Russia. Whoever questioned the authority of Bolsheviks, whoever criticized, whoever questioned the authority of Bolshevik, whoever questioned the authority of Bolsheviks, whoever criticized Bolsheviks, they were punished. They were punished by the secret police are there. Secret police will observe the activities of the peoples. If anybody will criticize against Bolshevik, definitely they will be punished by their activities, because they criticized or they opposed the Bolsheviks. Punished those who criticized the Bolsheviks. Those who were criticized were punished by the Bolsheviks. Next, afterwards we want to next topic we want to study, that is civil war. First of all, we want to revise today what we learned today. First of all, try to understand that Revolution of October 1917. You know that Lenin, he understood that this provisional government may set up a dictatorship. They may go to dictatorship. Dictatorship was the waste kinds of things that will be against the wishes of the will and wishes of the people. So that feared by Lenin. So Lenin understood the situation, and Lenin from exile he come to Russia and he decided to capture power. So with the help of Petrograd Soviet, this Bolshevik party, they captured the power and they formed the Soviet. Kerensky left the city. Kerensky, under the Menshevik leader Kerensky, he understood the situation and he left the city. In a swift moment, in a sudden moment, swift means sudden. In a sudden moment, Bolsheviks with the help of Petrograd Soviet, they seized here means they captured power. Moscow, that is severe fighting that occurred in Moscow, they resisted. Moscow, not only Moscow and Petrograd, even Petrograd and Moscow, heavy fighting that occurred. At last, December, Moscow and Petrograd were under the control of these Bolsheviks. It means they suppress all these kinds of rebellions that occurred in Moscow as well as Petrograd. So, next, they nationalize the bank. They nationalize the banks. Banks, they are collecting loan. They are collecting huge interest while giving loans. They collect huge interest. One policy of bank is different from another policy. According to that, they exploited. This understood the situation. Nationalized the bank. Nationalized all the banks. Then land declared as social property. In earlier times, private individuals, they acquired more land and they exploited the poor peasants. That become private property. Now it becomes social property. Now it becomes the property of the society, so that nobody can exploit these poor peasants and farmers. Next, partition large houses. Even big houses were constructed. They partitioned the large houses according to the requirements, according to the family requirements. That was a partition. That was partition means that was separated. Next, they banned the use of old titles. Some aristocratic peoples or the nobles, they always they put some titles in their names, or they adopt many titles. That was banned during this time. Banned the use of old titles of aristocracy. Aristocracy means aristocratic peoples or the nobles or the royal blood. They adopted many titles. That was banned. Then introduced new uniforms. They introduced new uniforms in the army. Total changes that happens in the army. Budnovoka, that was the cap used in that time. That was the cap that will be worn by the soldiers or military people of the armies. Introduced new uniform for the army, especially the cap that was totally changed. Now that was using Budnovoka, that is the cap that was used by the army. Next, 1917, then election conducted. Vladimir Lenin understood that people support is necessary, so he conducted the election, but he cannot gain a full seat or majority seat. They lost in the elections. In 1918, in the next year, Bolsheviks they made a peace with Germany. Some people they resisted because the Germans were the worst enemies, or they were the enemies of this Russia. Even the name of Petrograd was the new name. Earlier St. Petersburg, that was German name. They changed this name also. I hope that you understood this much. I hope that you understood about this much. Next we are studying about the civil war. Next we will study about civil war. Okay, next we want to discuss about the civil war. Civil war that occur in Russia. First of all, try to understand that the Bolsheviks, when they capture power and they become prominent in the society, that time certain sections of the peoples, they were against the Bolsheviks. That led to the civil war. Who are the members, they were against the Bolsheviks, because when Bolsheviks came to power or they captured power, they ended power, they got power. That times the non-Bolsheviks, those who are those who are in this Bolsheviks, they were called non-Bolsheviks. They were against Bolshevik party. Non-Bolsheviks, they were against Bolshevik party. Then socialist, liberals, even supporters of aristocratic troops, they decided to fight against the Bolsheviks. They were against Bolsheviks. They disliked the power of these Bolsheviks. So they decided to capture power. They decided to capture power, or they want to resist the power of the Bolsheviks, so that the leaders of non-Bolsheviks, socialist, liberal and supporters of aristocracy or the nobles, they joined together. They formed the troops to fight against the Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks on one side, other side non-Bolshevik, socialist, liberal supporters of aristocracy, All these sections they joined together to fight against Bolsheviks that came to that inside Russia, that was inside internal Russia or inside the Russia, these non-Bolshevik socialist liberals and supporters of aristocracy, they fought against the Bolsheviks. They formed even troops also to fight against the Bolsheviks. That came to be known as, that was inside of the Russia or internal Russia, or we can say that is civil war. That is nothing but a civil war that led to civil war. Leaders moved to South Russia. The leaders they moved to South Russia. All these leaders of these non-Bolshevik socialist liberal supporters of aristocracy, these peoples they moved to South Russia. When they reached South Russia, they organized the troops. These leaders they organized the troop. Military troops, or they organized the troops. These troops came to be known as the Reds. First they established these Red troops. First Red troops that was formed against the Bolsheviks. Against the Bolsheviks. These leaders of these non-Bolshevik socialist liberals, supporters of aristocracy, these leaders moved towards South Russia and organized the troops. That troops came to be known as the Red troops. What troops? They came to be known as the Red troops. These Reds they decided to fight against the Bolsheviks. First the troop, that is Red troops. Then later on, Green troop that was formed. Green troop, who formed that Green troop? These troops was against the Bolsheviks. For that they formed the Green troops. They were the socialist revolution. These socialist revolutionaries they formed this Green. That was nothing but a troop. First Red troop, that was a troop or military troops fight against the Bolsheviks. Next troop they formed, that was by the socialist revolutionaries. The name of that troop was Green troops. Next pro-Tsarist. The pro-Tsarist they formed another troop called White troops. Another troops called White troops. White troops also formed. So you know that the Red troops, the Green troops, and the White troops. These are troops as well as the white troops and green troops were formed. Remember about the color of our national flag so that we can understand. The red troops, the white troops and green troops that was formed against the Bolsheviks. The red troops, the leaders, all these leaders they moved towards South Russia and organized troops called red troops. Then socialist revolutionaries also they formed troops called green troops. Next, pro-Tsarist, they also formed troops called white troops. Next, these troops and the Bolsheviks they fought each other, came to be called as the civil war. One side Bolshevik and these troops like red, green and white, they fight against Bolsheviks. They fight against the Bolsheviks that came to be known as civil war. That is called the civil war. What is civil war? The Bolsheviks, when they came power under the leadership of Lenin, that time non-Bolsheviks, socialist, liberals, supporters of aristocracy, they formed the troops against Bolsheviks. The first they formed the troops, that is called the red troops. Later on, the socialist revolutionaries they formed another troop called the green troops. Next, the pro-Tsarist they formed the troop that is called the white troops. The green, white and red fight against the Bolsheviks that came to be known as the civil war. One side the Bolsheviks, other side green, white and red troops. Understood? The red, green and white troops they were on one side, another side Bolsheviks. This has happened inside the Russia that we can call it as the civil war. This came to be known as the civil war. These troops and Bolsheviks they fought in the civil war. And during this time, looting, exploitation and other activities that will be done due to the civil war. Due to the civil war, what happens? They looted each other's wealth, they exploited, looted and they destroyed and these kinds of things that happened in this civil war. In the civil war, there will be a huge looting, exploitation, then different destruction and all these things that happened in the civil war that automatically lead to famine. famine. That leads to famine. Normally what will happen, sir? Looting, exploitation and other kinds of destruction and other kinds of things will happen. Definitely one thing will happen that this economy cannot stand for a long time because there will be a famine happens. That leads to famine. People were starving for food. That kinds of situation that happens. Famine that leads to civil war. Lead to what? What was the consequence of civil war? Civil war led to famine. Civil war. The result of civil war was civil war led to famine. Later on, a socialist society was later on there will be a socialist society that was formed in Russia. Later on, a socialist society that was formed in Russia. Later on, you know that a socialist society that was formed in that was established or that was formed in Russia. Once again, I want to tell about the civil war. So you know that a civil war that will be happened internally, internal Russia. That means that Bolsheviks when they captured power under the leadership of Lenin. That times non-Bolsheviks, socialist, liberals and supporters aristocracy, they were against the Bolsheviks. So they decided to fight against the Bolsheviks. The leaders of these non-Bolshevik, socialist, liberal supporters aristocracy, they reached the southern part of Russia, South Russia, and they organized the troops called Red Troops. And later on, you know that socialist revolutionaries, they formed another troop called Green Troops. Then White Troops by the pro-Tsarist, they formed the White Troops. Then these troops, all these troops like Red Troops, Green Troops, White Troops, they joined together and fought against the Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks one side, other side White, Green and Red Troops. In this civil war, there will be massive looting, exploitation, destruction. These kinds of things happened. That leads to famine. That automatically leads to famine. Later on, a socialist society was established in Russia. Later on, a socialist society was established in Russia. Next, we are studying about Stalinism and collectivization. Next topic we are discussing about Stalinism and collectivization. Stalinism and collectivization. I hope that you understood about the civil war. I hope you learned about the civil war. Civil war that Bolsheviks and other groups, Red Troops, White Troops, Green Troops, they fought against the Bolshevik, and due to this led to famine. Later on, a socialist that government was formed, that was called Socialist Society. Later on, a socialist society was established in Russia. Next, we are studying about Stalinism and collectivization. Stalinism and collectivization. Stalinism and collectivization. After the death of Lenin, Stalin established his power. After the death of Lenin, who established power? Stalin established power. Acute problem of grain supplies, that was the problem Russia was faced. That in order to solve the acute shortage of grain supplies, acute problem of grain supplies, what was the problem? Acute supply of grain. Acute supply of grain supplies, that was the problem they faced. What was the problem they faced? Acute supply of grain supply, that was the problem they faced. That time Lenin, after Lenin, death of Lenin, the Stalin understood that there was acute supply of grain supplies, there was acute shortage. We can say that acute problem or acute shortage of grain supplies, acute shortage of grain supplies. Acute shortage of grain supply was there in this situation. So Stalin understood the situation. Stalin said that in order to solve these problems, there will be one remedy, that is nothing but a collectivization. That is collectivization. We want to know about what is collectivization. Stalinism and collectivization. Stalin think in a better and prosperous way to make the country, make Russia in a better and prosperous way, and to increase, instead of shortage, to increase the grain supplies and to reach these grain supplies to all the peoples. So he decided to follow collectivization policies. First of all, what is collectivization? Fragmented lands are there. You know that in Russia many fragmented areas are there. Farmers they are cultivating in different areas. That areas are not in the joint form. That will be in different areas. So that Stalin want to make it to collect this land. First of all, collect this land and to join these lands together. And these fragmented areas, fragmented separated areas, that will be joined, that make it one join together or make it as in one area, in a collective, in a vast area to and to make to cultivate that area, that can be known as collectivization. What is collectivization? Stalin's idea was to collect the land from the people, especially the rich people, the farmers. Rich farmers are there, from rich farmers and other sections of the people. These fragmented areas, all these fragmented areas will be collected by Stalin. He collected Stalin, and all the peoples were hand over the land to Stalin, and Stalin decided to make it as vast areas of land. So earlier what they cultivated fragmented areas of land. So one area in one side, one cultivation in one a small piece of land in one area. Another cultivation maybe in another area, small piece of land. Another area there will be a small piece of land. The Stalin's idea was to make it as one big areas of land. I will draw it so that you will understand it. Here one fragmented area is there. Some areas are not cultivated. Some area here also fragmented area is there. Here also fragmented area. Here also fragmented area. This area, this area, this area, and this area. So this much area is not cultivated. Actually, this area not cultivated. This area not cultivated. This area not cultivated. This area also not cultivated. This area also not cultivated. He decided to make it as one area. So that he collected the land. First area collected, second area collected, then this area collected, this area collected, this area also collected. All these fragmented areas he collected. Who collected? This Stalin collected all these areas from the people. So then he made it as one area. Now you understood. This is earlier it was a fragmented area. This was fragmented area. This was fragmented area. This was fragmented area. All these fragmented areas he joined together. He make it as and he want to make it as collective. He want a large area. Now you look the changes. You can see that changes. Now it will become one area. Look. You can see the difference now. Earlier that was fragmented area. Now look, this become one area. This is joint area. This become one area. Now it is a collective farm. This method of cultivation we can call it as collective farming. That is nothing but a collective farming. He gave importance to collective farming. Who gave importance to collective farming? In order to solve the shortage of food grains, he started this method that is called the collective farming. That become very efficient and that become very successful and fruitful during the time of Stalin. What Stalin did, the fragmented areas, earlier it become fragmented areas. He fragmented areas, he make it as one collective land. Now it become a large areas of land. From that land he cultivated. So this kind of cultivation we can call it as collective farming. What is collective farming? First he collected the land from different sections of the people and he collected it. These are all fragmented. One area may be in one area, one side. Another area may be far away. One piece of land may be in one area. Another piece of land may be in another area. So that in between there the areas become barren land. So he collected all this land and to make it as one areas of land. That is called one area of land. That method he can call it as collective farming. Who introduced collective farming? This Lenin. After the death of Lenin, Stalin introduced collectivization. This is called the collectivization. In the examination several times asked about what is Stalinism and collectivization. If that is such kinds of questions will ask, you can write that Stalin collected the land from the peasants. So rich peasants are there. Some small scale or we can say the poor landless peasants are there. So that he want to make these rich peasants the land from them and to collect this land and he make it as one big large areas of land and he started collective farming. This method is called collective farming. So that all the members, all these peasants together, they can cultivate this land. All the peasants, you know that several peasants, they can collect, they can together they can cultivate these whole areas. All these peasants, peasants here means farmers. All the farmers they collectively cultivated. They can not only these all these areas they can collectively, these total areas they can collectively cultivate. These total areas they can collectively cultivate. This method of cultivation is called collective farming. Who introduced collective farming in Russia? Stalin introduced collective farming in India. After the death of Lenin, Stalin introduced emergency measures. First he was what he did from the traders as well as the rich peasants. He collected the land. He collected all this land, and what he did, he asked the peoples to cultivate the land. All these all the peoples, all these peasants, they can collectively farm the land so that they can increase food supplies. The problem was solved. You know that what was their problem? Main problem, acute shortage of grain supply. That was the problem. In order to solve that problem, what he did is that he asked the rich peasants as well as the traders to give land to the government, so that the government can make it as one large area, one tracts of land or big large areas of land. From that big large areas of land, all the peasants they can collectively start cultivation. That method is called collective farming. That is called the collectivization. That is called Stalin's collectivization, or the method of collective farming. So earlier what happens, you know that the rich peasants and the traders they hold the grains, or they hold the stocks. You know that they are collected. In earlier time what happens, Stalin understood all these situations. In earlier time the rich peasants and the traders, what they did is that they stock the grains in the godowns. They stock in the godowns. Once they stock it in the godowns, and they will not produce that grains, so that what will happen, the price will increase. So that was their idea. Their holdings, they hold the stocks. What stocks? The grains they hold in one areas of land, maybe in a godown. In big godowns were established by the rich peasants and the traders. And what they did is that the rich peasants and the traders they kept all these grains in that godowns. That we can call it as godowns or storerooms or godowns. They kept all these grains. Why they kept all these grains in the godowns? Why? The main reason is that to automatically what will happen, if grains supply is not there, if supply is less, what will happen? The price will increase. That is, you know it very well. For that purpose they kept in these godowns. The rich peasants and the traders they kept in the godowns. As a result, what will happen? Automatically the price will increase. Once the price will increase, all of a sudden they produce these lands. They produce these grains. What they did, they distributed these grains from that godown. They take these grains from the godowns and they sell at a higher price. In order to raise the price, they did one thing, that is called holdings. The holdings of the stocks that was done by the rich peasants as well as the traders. The Stalin understood this was the reason for the rise in price. In order to make the price in a normal value, so that what he did is that he punished those who are doing these kinds of holdings, those who are kept in the godowns for a long time. When the price increase that will be produced, he stopped that. He banned such kinds of things. He asked the traders and the rich peasants to cooperate with him, otherwise they will be punished. So the stocks for these kinds of holding the stocks, that he want to stop this practice. Then Stalin stopped this practice. Party of Stalin then raided kulaks. The party of Stalin, later on what happens? They raided kulaks. What do you know about kulaks? An examination may ask who were known as kulaks. Kulaks were the rich peasants. Who were kulaks? Kulaks were the rich peasants. The rich peasants, what they did, they always stock these holdings. What holdings? They hold these grains so that the price will automatically rise. He raided the kulaks. So once he raided the kulaks, he can understand one thing, that whether they kept in the godowns or not. So he can easily understand that whether they kept in the godowns. They want to increase the grains price, for that they hold the kept in that godown, so that he raided. So that what they did, due to fear, what they did, they produce their grains. They produce the grains. Otherwise, they will be arrested by Stalin's party will arrest them. So that they understood that this was not in a good situation. This was a bad situation. They cannot do in a better way. They cannot cheat the people. So they cannot hold the stocks. So that they understood that this was they can't do such kinds of malpractices like holding the stocks. So here what happens? He raided the kulaks. Several times asked one more question: who were known as kulaks? Kulaks were the rich peasants. Who were kulaks? Kulaks were the well-to-do peasants, or rich peasants were known as the kulaks. So that was raided by who? Stalin raided all these things. Asked them to hand over the land to the government. He asked these kulaks or the rich peasants to hand over the land to Stalin. So that what Stalin can do? Stalin can maintain collective farming. Stalin can together cultivate all these land. Whatever the lands collected from these peoples, they can that land togetherly formed, and they can collectively, that collective farming method can adopt there. That was the idea of Stalin. So that become successful. That will become successful in Russia. So take away the land. He take away the land from the rich peasants. He take away the land from the rich peasants of the kulaks, and established a state-controlled large farms. State-controlled large farms through collective farming. Now state was controlling all this land. Before, who controlled the land? These are all lands. These lands before controlled by these lands that was controlled by the kulaks as well as the traders. The traders as well as kulaks earlier, they controlled this land earlier. Now who controlled? Now state controlled this land. Now total control of the state. How the state controlled from the kulaks that was raided, and asked them to hand over the land to the state. So now the land belongs to the state rather than the kulaks and traders. Now kulaks and traders, they can't do nothing. They can't do anything at all. Why? Because they cannot stock these grains. They cannot increase the price of the grains. Now that become a normal price, so that there won't be any problem. So that the state is now totally controlling the land. State asks the peoples, they can collectively they can cultivate, and from that collective method of cultivation, they will get that crops they can consume. After that, the state will collect all these grains. Whenever the difficult situation or any problems happens, that will be distributed equally to all the peoples, so that the problem related to grain will be stopped by the activities of Stalin. I hope that you understood this much. Take away the land from the peasants, or the which peasants, kulaks or the rich peasants, and establish a state-controlled large farms. Now these farms are large farms. Now it was controlled by the state, total control of the state. Then we are studying more about Stalin's collectivization. Stalin helped to solve the problems of the food shortage. Stalin helped to solve the problem of the food shortage. What was the main problem related to food shortage? Now I am going to erase the lesson, or I am going to wind up the session. I hope that you understood about the Stalinism and collectivization. Now the problem is related to the rich landlords. They are holding the land. After that, the traders. This problem was solved by Stalin. So I hope that you understood it very well. Thank you very much, children.